This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of CWK Live. I'm your host, Dan Zehr, delighted to talk Star Wars with each and every one of you. Minta can't make it tonight, but she'll try next week. May the Force with you, Minta. Thanks so much for checking in. We'll save you a spot for next week. Again, I'm your host, Dan Zehr. So excited to talk Star Wars with each of you. What a great way to start off the week, talking Star Wars with my favorite Star Wars people. And here we are. It's a Monday, April 22nd. We've only got a couple of episodes of the Bad Batch left, and we've got a lot of fun things to talk about. Mary is here. Happy Monday, everyone. Mary, happy Monday to you. Brian, this is the Monday, CWK Monday. Great to have you back on the show, Brian. Hello, Adam. My friends, hello, my friend, said in your best Hondo impersonation. Hello, my friends. That's more like Watto. I'll work on it. Darren, welcome to you and to everyone. And Jason, hello there. You know the drill. If you happen to be on the show this right now and you have a Twitter account, please retweet and share this post and let everybody know that you're watching. If you're on Facebook, please tag a friend or post it to your feed and say, join us on CWK Live. And I apologize if you're watching this on YouTube. I accidentally set it up where I couldn't make comments for just this week, and I tried to undo it, but it wouldn't let me, so I apologize. If you want to make a comment, you can certainly post it in the CWK Cafe or on Coffee with Kenobi on Facebook. So again, I apologize for that. That won't happen again. I hope it was a mistake. So hopefully it won't happen again. Robert just made it. Hello, everyone. Robert, great to see you. Look, I promised we got a big show, and we do. We're going to have your top 5 moments from Star Wars The Bad Batch into the Breach, Aurebesh lessons, and finally, a return to Star Wars news and what else is brewing in the world of Star Wars this week. Hey, let's check it out.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
All right, so this was announced last week. I didn't get a chance to share it on the show, but if you are a Fortnite fan, or if you have children or friends who love Fortnite, Fortnite is coming back to Star Wars on May the 3rd. Probably not a big surprise if you are a big fan of Fortnite. They're always right on the cutting edge of whatever is popular and trendy and exciting in the world of entertainment and pop culture. And they've had many Star Wars things on in the past, Mandalorian, Ahsoka. They always do great stuff on around May the 4th weekend. So get ready. And I'm hoping if I can get Mason away from his busy schedule, and he is pretty busy, baseball and all kinds of fun things. So we say hello, Mason. Mason, of course, can be found every week as we talk about the Bad Batch on Coffee with Kenobi. But he also loves to play Fortnite. So I'm going to get him to share with us, hopefully, about what this Fortnite update is going to be. And after it comes out, what it actually means. On July 3rd, we've got a new comic book series coming out, Star Wars Inquisitors. You can see by that spectacular cover, there is a new threat to the Empire and the Inquisitors, and the Grand Inquisitor and his peers, probably they wouldn't use the word peers, they are investigating. If you have the attention of Darth Vader and you're a Jedi during this period in Star Wars' history, not good for you. So we'll see how this goes. And with the Inquisitors, as we saw with Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah Dawson and other great things featuring the Inquisitors, they're fascinating. They're almost like hyenas, and they do some infighting. They are pretty dangerous and ruthless, and have a comic book series about all of them. Is going to be really exciting. So be on the lookout for that. Now let's go ahead and jump into some merchandise. This was announced today on Hasbro. They sent this over. Pre-orders are tomorrow, April 23rd at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time for the Vintage Collection, which again is the classic 3 3/4 inch line. This one is of Cal Kestis in Imperial disguise. Now, you can't be a Star Wars hero and not have an Imperial disguise at some point, right? Is that a laugh? I don't know. We'll do a laugh track, right? So that's a great figure. Here's another image of him. out of the box. I really like that. It's kind of cool that it's not just the classic Stormtrooper, but this is an Imperial officer, complete with the black pants and the white coat. Pretty cool. And it's got his little droid buddy there. Again, those pre-orders are available tomorrow on April 23rd at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. The press release I got said you can go to Big Bad Toy Store and other places, other fan places to buy your action figure. So be on the lookout for that if you are a collector of the vintage collection line, or if you just like Cal Kestis, or just like adding a new Star Wars figure to your collection. I'm so excited about this. Heroes and Villains. I saw this yesterday on their Instagram account. They have Star Wars slides. These are Velcro slides. And there are so many different Star Wars ones. If you are someone who knows how to read Aurebesh, you could probably start to make out what those say. I won't ruin it for you, but it's pretty cool. So be on the lookout for that. So you've got Star Wars slides. You've got the Ahsoka one. There are a couple different kinds of Ahsoka, but I picked the Velcro slides because I thought they were just really cool looking. Here is one for the Jedi. And there is the JEDI on there as well. So cool. Really, really nice. They've also got some Imperial ones. They've got a Rebel logo one. They've got a Bad Batch one. Here's the Rebel one right here. I was really excited. I think they're $40. So if you use the code COFFEE, COFFEE, I can't believe I'm spelling coffee, but you know, that's part of what you do to help make sure everyone knows. If you use the code COFFEE, you get 20% off your order courtesy of Coffee with Kenobi. And honestly, like, they didn't send me these. I'm tempted to buy these. I just can't decide between the Rebel ones, the Jedi ones, or these really cool Ahsoka ones. I like the blue with the black. That's a hard one. It's a really, really difficult one. But they're really nice, so be sure to check them out if you're interested. heroesandvillains.com. And honestly, like I said, it doesn't have to be Star Wars related. Just put in the code COFFEE for anything. Dungeons & Dragons, Marvel, DC, any pop culture stuff you find on there, you can use that code COFFEE. Now it's time to get back into our Aurebesh lessons. Okay, Aurebesh lessons this week. Last week, we ended up with U. So, of course, after U is V. And this is where they get a little bit confusing. There's a close-up of the alphabet if you want to review things. Hey, there's me in this tiny circle. So there's your A, your B, C, D, E, F, G, H. We got them all the way across the top. Probably those are the ones you are the most adept with. Then you've got, well, I'm just going to fast forward along here. But there's an overview of everything for you. Here we are. So again, there's our A. The most common one. I'm getting to a point. I don't know about you, but when I see something Aurebesh and I see that A, I still have that immediate reaction of, oh, there's a K. And then I click and it goes right to A in my brain. It's taking a long time. Now, you can't undo your entire life of seeing that symbol and thinking, oh, this is an A. Maybe you can't. Maybe you're just able to delineate that in your headspace. I'm not yet, but I'm trying. And I got to say, as I've said a few times, it's so rewarding when you get these Aurebesh things like on those slides I just showed a little bit ago, and you start to decipher them without having to look at a card or to translate them online. It's cool. I'm a fan. There's your B. I'm just going to slide through these really, really quickly. What are some things? Please post in the comments if you're someone who's been doing this, you feel like you're learning the different letters of Aurebesh. What is working the best for you? As I've said many times, for me, it's writing it over and over and over again. Yes, you can look at them. For some people, that works. I try to write my name in Aurebesh, try to write other things in Aurebesh. That works really, really well too. But the best thing is just whatever you do, do it consistently. There's the K. There's our L. The L and the J sometimes confuse me a little bit because you can see they're a little bit similar. Well, not really. Again, I always think of the J as like a Lego hand. There's your L. The M is the muscle. Looks like someone's flexing a muscle. There's the N, which the N is a really cool looking letter because it reminds me, for some reason when I see that, it makes me think of a D. I don't know why, but it's not. It's that little curve and then an upside down V, and that's your N. The O is pretty close to the real letter. The P is pretty newish. It looks like somebody's trying to pinch you, and that's how I remember the P. The Q looks similar to a Q, but there's just no tail. In fact, this section of the 3/4 of the square, that section where the tail would be, is pretty empty. Darren says the G and the U are very close. Yeah, I know. Exactly. And that makes it really kind of fun. The R and the D are also incredibly close too, except for that little line. There's the S. The S and the T are similar, but the S is like a diagonal to the right down arrow, whereas the T just goes straight down. And then new this week is the U. Now the U pretty much looks like a U. It's got the down, it's got the bottom horizontal line, then it goes up vertically again, and then it goes across and down. So it looks sort of like a U. Let's look back at the P. The P looks like a U also, but at the top it looks like it's trying to squeeze together to pinch. So that's how I think of the P. And then the U just is, I don't know, I think, hopefully this makes sense. When I look at this U, it's just a really fascinating symbol. Some kind of affect me more from a design perspective than others, but I find this U to be really compelling, really fascinating. I don't know, it looks like, it kind of reminds me of an old Kiss concert t-shirt I had back in the early 90s, and that was one of the symbols on there, and it really looks like that to me. So does the F, I guess, but that's just sort of, the F and the U, let me look at that. Kind of, well, they're not really that similar. They're just very unique. The U, how would you describe the U? Again, it's like a square, but at the top there is no line across the top, but it goes about halfway and then it cuts down, and that is your U. So take your time to write a couple of these this week. Try to write your name over and over again. There's still a part of me that really wants to get my family's initials in Aurebesh on my arm. We'll see. I think it's just such a, Aurebesh is it's a very beautiful design, I think. So enjoy, have fun. Please share your tips of how you were learning Aurebesh or what you would like to see from this section as we move forward. But now it's time to go into our top 5. Tonight's top 5 is your Star Wars The Bad Batch top 5s from Into the Breach. I talked at great length last week on Coffee with Kenobi about what Into the Breach means. It's from Henry V, Act 3, Scene 1, the St. Crispin's Day speech, which basically means, hey, let's get everybody fired up and excited because we're going to go into the enemy's base, into the enemy territory. And that is exactly the plan for Into the Breach, to get the location of where Tantus is so they can rescue Omega, of course. All right, let's take a look at your top 5s. Number 5 for me is McQuarrie-esque, and I should have spelled esque, E-S-Q-U-E, now that I look at it, so don't tell my English teacher. I say McQuarrie-esque because every time there is a space shot in this, or they show ships soaring through space, or when this ship is docking above Coruscant, it looked like a Ralph McQuarrie painting, and it took my breath away. It was beautiful. It reminds me of those wonderful 1970s designs that McQuarrie did, as well as other artists working on Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, some Flash Gordon stuff, what have you. But it was really, I feel like they really outdid themselves with the art design in this episode, the space sequences, so that's why I picked McQuarrie-esque for my number 5. Adam's 5, you can take the man out of the Empire, but you cannot take the Empire out of the man Rampart. Boy, he's a treat in this episode, isn't he? He is a lot of fun. Robert's number 5, the ominous opening music. Have you noticed, Robert and friends, that every week this opening music, whatever it is, whatever the design, so the ambient noise calls for, they are really nailing it for us and really making it quite sinister and amazing. 5 for Darren, another great episode moving along the story. Yes, we are moving all the pieces in place for what should be an amazing finale. Number 5 for Jason, The aerial shot of the research building on Tantus, followed by the overhead shot of the vault room where the children are being held. Wasn't that a great one, Jason? We talked about that on Coffee with Kenobi this week. You got those 3 circles from above. We can see the base and the forest, and they go inside, and you're inside the vault itself, and it's those same 3 circles themselves. Mary's 5, Rampart pushing back on the uniform and arguing for basically his rank and his status. I enjoyed that too. Number 5 for Brian, Echo, a stolen shuttle is the best I could do on short notice. I love Echo. I just love Echo. I wish we could get Echo action figures and plush and life-size statues. No, just kidding. But I love Echo. He's one of my favorites. I wish we could see him more. And I'm pretty sure I'll talk about that pretty soon. I actually did a lot in Coffee with Kenobi this week. All right, number 4 for me. Rampart's bluster. Let's see. Adam had mentioned Rampart earlier, as did Mary. I love Rampart in this episode so much. He's a little arrogant. He pushes back, as Mary says, with his uniform. But he also shows moments of great fear and real humanity. He's certain they're going to be blown out of the sky at the end of the episode. And just made him kind of human. And it's sort of relatable to a degree. I mean, not a huge degree. The accent, of course, is tremendous. Him kind of popping his jersey, as they say, when he gets all dressed up and he's got his proper insignia for his designation in the Empire and his hair is all slicked over. I just loved him. He was great. I don't know if you realize what a comedic foil he would be, but I wouldn't have expected that, but he's really, really effective and well done. Well done, Bad Batch team. 4 for Darren, Rampart complaining about it being a captain's uniform. Again, just love that so much. He's so entertaining. And you also sort of understand it to a degree. You know, he's trying to get a little bit of his dignity back. Jason's for the animation, lighting, and colors in the research building control room. Very well done, and also reminiscent of the control room in the first Death Star, which I loved. Some people didn't love that. I thought that was great. I mean, of course there should be some consistency in the designs of these things. And if we didn't have it, people would probably notice that too. So it makes sense to me that it popped. Adam talks about the phrase overheated Gamorreans, which I also thought was hilarious. Mary's next one, Echo taking the lead in the mission to get the data they need. He's an MVP in this one, honestly. Number 4 for Brian, Rampart. Do you think I'm lying? Wrecker/Crosshair. Yeah and yes at the exact same time. I love that too, Brian. That was very entertaining. Number 4 for Robert. The animation is as realistic in its small details as live action. Example, the scene with Rampart and Hunter. Rampart in the background goes out of focus when Hunter is speaking and vice versa. Yeah, there's some great little details, aren't there? Like the camera work that they do on this thing. And I thought it was, again, very, very well done. This is not something they're churning out. They're putting a lot of love and care into this, artistically and stylistically, as well as the acting, the action, and the story itself. So good catch, Robert. Let's go to number 3 again. If you're just joining us, welcome. And if you are joining us, please tag a friend and share with them to join us and talk all about Star Wars The Bad Batch and any other Star Wars things that come up on CWK Live. Number 3 for me is Omega Stealth. There's something pretty spectacular for me about the fact that she's in this situation. It's not a great situation to be in, but she doesn't lose her cool. She doesn't let it shake her. She just focuses on what she needs to. And she takes on this role, like Hunter did for her in Clone Force 99, of being a leader and someone that these kids can depend on. And they can feel a little bit of a little peace with knowing that she is there and she's in charge. And she shares some ethos. Look, I've had some training. I've got friends. I've broken out of this place before. She's able to take on these leadership roles and help them to feel comfortable through her actions and her deeds. And I just love it. I just love Omega. And I liked seeing her in this role. Honestly, if she suddenly would have been scared or nervous, that wouldn't have tracked. That is not what we've seen of her. And there's no reason for her to be scared now. I think she believes in her team, and I think she believes in herself. And I really enjoy seeing it. She's a really good example for kids, I think. All right, let's see what other people have. Number 3 for Mary. Mary says the younglings trusting Omega very quickly as they get to know her. Looks like Mary was looking off of my paper again. Mary, good call on that. Yes, I like how much I trust her too, and she just has that inner strength about her, which is great. It's great. Number 3 for Robert, the complexity of finding Tantus. The Emperor is keeping its location highly classified makes sense. It does, especially because there's so much at stake for the Emperor from what we can tell. Number 3 for Darren, Crosshair just being one of the clones 99 again. Fitting in more and more. Love that. Love seeing Crosshair in action. Jason's 3, relax. Echoes on it from Crosshair. Another highlight of mine too, Jason. Jason says, I know he's been back for a while now, but the trust and sense of calmness, quote, reinforces reintegration into the batch. Absolutely, Jason, outstanding. Number 3 for Adam, Rampart. I didn't make Vice Admiral on looks alone. I'm shaking my head, or yes, see my number 4 on that one. Exactly. That bluster, that bravado, that imperial swagaliciousness. That's great stuff. Number 3 for Brian. Sorry for the weird laugh, everyone. Brian's number 3, Omega, meeting the other inhabitants of the vault and devising a plan for escape. Again, they are focused, whether they are together or separate, because that training doesn't just turn off, and they're ready to go, which is fantastic. Okay, let's go into number 2. Actually, before we go into number 2, I'm going to pause for a second. Let's do a clip right now of this week's CWK Pour-Over. We were really excited about this, and Tyler Pompa, a great friend of the show, who joins us sometimes on the live show, he reached out, and he was pretty excited because he loves X-Men 97. If you were a fan of the classic X-Men series in the 90s, the animated series, then you were really thrilled when X-Men 97 was announced on Disney Plus. And I wasn't going to watch it. Honestly, I just okay, whatever. I didn't really like it in the 90s, but I appreciated that they did it. Corey and Tom loved it. They swore that I would like it and would see it. So I liked it. And I said, all right. And we all agreed, let's review this on CWK Pour-Over. If you're not sure what CWK Pour-Over is, it's a weekly exclusive podcast, which is an audio or a video podcast, depending on what level you want to be a member of the CWK Alliance. And you get access to over 300 podcasts, videos about Star Wars and all kinds of pop culture, behind the scenes, a lot of great stuff. So here's a clip, if you're curious to hear more about it, of Corey, Tom, and I looking at the first 2 episodes of X-Men 97, episodes 1 and 2.
Saturday mornings, 10 or 10:30, it came on. I was there. I was locked in. And they actually also had like a Spider-Man 90s cartoon as well they would like back to back them.
Yes.
For a while they would do that. And I think even after that was either before that or after it was Power Rangers when it first came out. So that was a really fresh, lineup of TV shows in the 90s. And I mean, as a young 10-year-old, I was just coming into my own. I had gotten some early comics that were, my first comic that I ever had was a Ghostbuster comic. And then got into superheroes, and just right as that was all kicking off, this show came out and the 90s X-Men came along.
But wow, this has reinvigorated my faith in Marvel. And you know what? I'm just going to say this. I saw today Kevin Feige's name up on the credits, which there's no surprise to that. But it kind of made me feel like, I wonder if the X-Men has been a little boost in the creativity in that department. We've got some new characters to play with. We've got some new stories to play with. People love them.
They took some time to revamp things, and we saw some hints to the future of the X-Men at the end of the Marvels. But now we've got this animated series, and let's just dive into it, gentlemen.
Sure.
I just want to talk really briefly about, I guess actually we'll just kind of get to that organically. Let's spend a few minutes on each of the episodes. All right, so there you have it. That is a bit of a brief look at the this week's CWK Pour-Over. If you're interested and want to find out more, go to coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance. All right, back to the list. Let's go to our number 2. Number 2 for me is Echo's Gifts. A few of you have talked about Echo. I've alluded to Echo. What I like about Echo, and I talked about this a lot on the show this week, is that, oh, my chair just went down. He is someone who technically has a disability because he's missing a hand, right? Technically, that's how it would be qualified, perhaps. But he doesn't operate that way. The attachment he has that allows him to splice into Imperial terminals and Republic terminals and just be a man of action. It's never been even talked about or acknowledged. He's just an incredible soldier. He's an incredible friend. He's an incredibly crafty individual. He's exactly who you want in battle. And not only is he incredibly brave and fearless, but he loves Omega and he loves his brothers and he'll do anything for them. And I just like how he's portrayed. I feel like he's a great example for people of all shapes and sizes. And I just really admire the heck out of what they put into Echo. He's a very empowering person for people with different abilities. And I just think that's quite profound and really it's fantastic. So kudos to Disney and Lucasfilm for doing that. And again, it's never been portrayed that way. It's just something that I noticed recently, and I'm like, this is great. This is great that he does this. I mean, of course it makes sense, but I just really like it a lot. All right, let's see what other people have for number 2. Adam's number 2, Lieutenant, where's your captain? Wrecker captaining. Adam, I love that too. I almost made one of mine Wrecker's humor because I do it every week, but I really like that as well. That was just so great. Mary's 2, the final scene with the batch attaching to the bottom of the ship heading to Tantus. Whew, that was quite a tense thing, wasn't it? Darren's 2, the batch heading to Tantus with Rampart at the very end. Very exciting stuff. Number 2 for Robert. Rampart is a character. His disdain for wearing a captain's uniform and slipping right back into his haughty attitude when impersonating an Imperial officer. That's Rampart for you. He's a scene stealer. In this one, Jason's 2, the batch's unwavering determination to find Tantus and rescue their sisters and brothers. Also very inspiring. Number 2 for Brian, Rampart back on center stage with his confidence, arrogance, and shiny new Imperial uniform. I'm glad so many people enjoyed the Rampart aspect of this too, because I really found it to be entertaining, and also it kind of makes him endearing, to be honest, now that I think about it. And I think that's important because it's more thrilling even if you're just a little bit invested in him. It makes a big difference. All right, let's go to our number 1 sequence from Into the Breach. The spectacular ending. Spectacular. Let's see. Several of you brought it up. Darren brought it up. Mary brought it up. Others of you brought it up either here or online. The end of this, when I said this on the show, when I watched this the first time, I was so nervous. Like I think I was like almost sweating. I was so nervous seeing them break through. And hey, what about those proximity warnings and mines? And then they're inching up to it, and they're about to go to light speed. And Hunter says, "I'm not going to wait." And Rampart's screaming, "We're going to get blown out of the sky." And they turn upside down. Just as they hook up, they zip to light speed, and it goes to black. Boom. What a gutsy storytelling fashion that was. I just was so happy. So happy to see that. Because you're on the edge of your seat, and you know you've got to wait a week, and it's like you don't even get a chance to exhale because you're like, because you have to wait until next week to see what's going to happen. I just love the ending. You know me, I love an ending where I have to think. I don't have all the answers, and I have to wait. They leave me waiting, wanting more, and that's what you want, isn't it? That's exactly what you want. It's just classic Star Wars, all the way back to 1980, when at the end you want to see if Han's going to get rescued, and the credits roll, and you got to wait 3 years. Well, here we only have to wait a week, but what a fantastic ending. Let's see what everybody else has for their number 1. Number 1 for Mary. Omega's last scene with her escape plan formulating in her mind. Her facial expression tells everything we need to know about her determination. Boy, is it intense. Number 1 for Adam. The split-second hookup as the proxy sensors go offline and the science vessel jumps to hyperspace. Just, again, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic ending. Number 1 for Darren. Omega working to escape finding the elevator-looking shaft area behind her cell wall. And then like that tension, which no one has brought up yet, unless this is what you're talking about, Darren. You probably are. When she looks into those panels and then they all fall down. She finally gets them back in place at the end before the Imperials come in and see her. Robert's number one, Emery. It seems she is surreptitiously enabling Omega's imminent escape. I can't imagine Emery knowing Omega's savviness and training, not to mention the fact that she had escaped before, would have ignorantly turned her back towards Omega while leaving her medical tools out in the open, or allowed the specimens to intermingle with one another. Now, Robert, that's a good point. That could be a little clue like that. Jason's number one, the contrast between Rampart losing his composure and the batch staying cool and collected when they had to pivot their plans, and the similar contrast between the lack of hope among the imprisoned, force-sensitive children and Omega's unwavering confidence and optimism. Unwavering is a very good way to describe that. Number one for Brian, the roller coaster of suspense throughout the episode, culminating in the very last second episode of Phew, when they attach that transport. I'm telling you, I put that up as one of the better cliffhanger endings that we've seen in a long time. It just really takes your breath away. And I said it loud, oh, when I was watching it, because I didn't want it to end. I wanted to see what was going to happen right away. Fortunately, we're going to get to in just a couple of days. So thank you, everybody, for sharing your thoughts on Into the Breach. Next week, of course, we're talking about the penultimate episode, the second to last episode of not only season 3, but of the Bad Batch. Your top 5 moments from the Bad Batch Flash Strike. Buckle up. Buckle up, friends. It's really a fun one. Jason wants to know, I wonder what the Batch is going to do with Rampart once they arrive on Tantus. Hopefully it will include watching their backs. That guy is trouble. Yeah, I guess difficult to see the future is, right? So now let's take a look at let's take a look and ask that host that babbles over his words, Dan Z. All right, so my Force-sensitive friends, if you have any comments or questions for me about this episode specifically, and the episode of the Bad Batch specifically, Star Wars podcasting, what have you, this is a great time to do that. I will answer your questions live and do the best I can. If I don't know, at least to steer you in the right direction. And yes, I have seen next week's episode, but I will not, of course, answer any questions about that because you wouldn't want me to spoil it. And I just wouldn't do that anyway. But I am excited to see what you all think. And I have not seen the finale. So I'm looking forward to that. I am looking forward to talking about it with all of you. And now I'm in a place where I have to start thinking about, gosh, what are we going to talk about here once Bad Batch is over? I'm sure we'll come up with something. Jason, I wonder what the Batch is going to do with... Oh, we already did that one. Robert, do you think anyone actually clicks the skip intro button so they can skip the 2 seconds before the show begins? So I do that sometimes, even though it's pointless because there's no intro. But actually, sometimes I do it, depending on if I'm in a hurry or not, which is silly, I know. Brian says, my son and I are really enjoying X-Men 97. This week's Pour-Over was a great listen. Well, thanks, Brian. Who's your favorite X-Man? So, gosh, it kind of depends. In this series, I'm really liking Magneto, and I'm really liking Cyclops. What about you, Brian? I think they're really fun. Has the runtime for the finale been shared? No, Mary, it is not. I honestly have no idea what the runtime for the finale is, but I want to find out so I can sort of plan my morning on next Wednesday when it comes out, because that's obviously going to be a really important thing. If I find out I'm allowed to share, I will definitely share it in the CWK Cafe. Again, I showed you that clip, but if you want to find out more about the CWK Alliance, again, we talked about X-Men 97 episodes 1 and 2. This week will be episodes 3 and 4. We're going to go through them 2 at a time. Definitely looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to what's going to happen when we get on the Disney Wish in June 2025, June 16th to the 20th. As you know, Coffee with Kenobi and MEI and Mouse Fan Travel are going to go on the Disney Wish, and we really want you to join us. Get your no cost, no obligation quote at coffeewithkenobi.com/Disney Wish. We're going to Go to Hyperspace Lounge together. Go to Castaway Key. The Disney cruise, there's nothing like it in the whole world. It's great. And you just require to put in a down payment if you decide to go with us. And then the full payment is due till March of next year. So you can pay as you go. But either way, you can get a no-cost, no-obligation quote at coffeewithkenobi.com/DisneyWish. Several of you have signed up, so I would encourage you to do so before you don't get a chance to. Do I have tickets for the Phantom Menace anniversary screening coming up? You know, Nick, I don't yet. Just because my son's baseball schedule is so malleable. It changes all the time. But I want to, and we are going to go see Rogue One this Saturday night in Peoria, Illinois, so I'm looking forward to that. What about you, Nick? Brian says, Cyclops has been my favorite since the original series. Totally loved the first episode when he rocked it. But they really modified his powers, so we talked about it Pour-Over this week. He was fun. You know what else is fun is talking about Star Wars each and every week with all of you. I am your host, Dan Zehr, and I had so much fun talking with all of you. I certainly learned a lot this week on CWK Live, and I hope you did too, with all of us chatting Star Wars, having such a great time. And we always do. Thank you so much for your support, for telling people about the show, and for just being a great Star Wars fan and ambassador for our community. I thank you so much, and I will see you next time. This is the live podcast you're looking for. Thanks so much, everybody, and the stars light your way.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here.